For the Contra Costa County Bar Association's Law Practice Management Series. I'm Dean Barbieri. I'm on the board of directors of the County Bar Association, and I also have lucky enough to be the dean of the law school. So my first name is Dean, and I'm also the dean of the law school, and provost of the university. And with us is Jay Chaffetz. Jay is the current president of the County Bar Association. Welcome, Jay. And Teresa Hurley, thank you for all of your assistance in putting this on. And tonight, and today, we're pleased to have Katharine from the Family Law Group in Livermore to serve as our speaker and on the subject of creating a modern law practice. And we're very fortunate to have Katharine. She's been a frequent lecturer and presenter at the State Bar annual meeting. And I think it's going to be a great program. Thank you very much for agreeing to participate, Katharine.
My pleasure. Thank you. Well, welcome. I'll give you a little something that you need to know before we start. So for all of the technology I'm going to try and teach you about, my laptop keeps shutting down about every 10 minutes for some reason. And I think I'm just going to have to battle through that. But you have color copies in front of you, so hopefully it won't be too much of a distraction and I can pull it up pretty easily as we go. I'm Katharine Hooker. I am a partner with Family Law Group in Livermore. I have one partner. My partner is Patty Abramson. And we have 2 associates and we have 12 staff. We founded our firm about 1.5 years ago, and we've had a vision for making a modern law practice since the outset of doing so. And we've worked hard at doing that. So when I was contacted to teach this program, I was honored, and I was also excited because it was a further indication that we were doing something right, and people are noticing. And as we go through the program, I'll share with you some of those other indicators which show that the techniques that we're implementing are working. And my whole goal is, I don't like to speak per se. I don't like to just sign up because I like to hear myself talk. It's not one of my things. I don't like meetings. I think meetings that last a long time and have no purpose drive me absolutely insane. I'm very much a time is money type of person. And so what I do like doing though is I like sharing information with people that I think is really useful. So when I was an associate in my first 6 years of practice, I started a program that I made accessible to attorneys, young attorneys online. That's some of what I lectured on at the State Bar and other places. And it was like when I got out of law school and I started to practice, I went about for 3 years of practice, and I realized that during that 3 years I had found all this information that I worked hard to try and find from a multitude of resources, and I didn't know why other people didn't have that information easily and readily available to them in one place. And so I set out on an endeavor to do that, and I still share a lot of that information. Now, however, I'm on this side. So I've now been a partner for 1.5 years, but as much as I'm a litigator, and I am a litigator, I'm also very entrepreneurial, and so is my partner. And so we've spent the last 1.5 years really taking, like I said, the time and the efforts to plan from the outset about what our visions were, about what our goals were, about what we wanted our clients to perceive us as, what we wanted our colleagues in the community to perceive us as, and much of that was that we wanted to be a leading law firm. We wanted to be cutting edge. We wanted to have a reputation. We believed strongly in branding. And I know that some of what you guys have already covered, it has to do with branding and website and marketing. And so I'm not going to try and do a repeat of that to the extent possible. There'll be some crossover just as I'm going through the conversation. But what I'm really hoping to do for you today is say, here's what our vision was. Here's my story. And this is based entirely on my story. So it's not going to apply to everybody. It's not going to apply to big firms in the city. This is going to be a more localized, small to mid-sized firm experience. Many of the philosophies that I'll share with you today, there's counter philosophies too, and some of you may disagree with me, but all I can do is say, this is what we've been doing, it's working for us, and we've spent, like I said, a year and a half of both trial and error on several different things, but also seeking our own consultants and spending some very good money doing that and getting information. And so I'm trying to take the best of that information and combine it into, an hour and a half, and give it to you. And then certainly if you have any other questions, you ask. If you have anything that comes up right then, you're burning and you have to ask, I don't care about that. Otherwise, I've left time at the end to answer questions as well. Okay? So, the traditional versus the modern approach is kind of how I'm going to go through this, to the extent possible. So, what we found is that the legal community is actually one of the slowest communities to implement technology available for their practice. And I don't know why that is, I just know that it is. If you look at real estate agents, if you look at other private practices, other services, a lot of them are taking the same techniques and tools that are available to anyone and implementing them on a much more rapid basis. I tend to think that the legal community is a little bit more old school. Part of being a good lawyer comes with, part of it, not all of it. There's good lawyers that don't have experience or much experience, but a big part of it is experience. And so when you get maybe a different generation who has more experience, has developed a system that works for them, and then you have a new generation and new techniques that are coming along, they're very slow to merge. So that's what I think what's going on. But the cool thing about that is that it really provides such an opportunity for those who want to dig in and reach out and search out the information available and put themselves so ahead of the others just by implementing certain tools and techniques. Now, in order to have a great reputation and you have to follow that up. So your work has to be good, you have to have a good reputation, people have to rely on you. All of that has to be there. And I'll tell you that there are firms out there, and any of you in your own industry or your own area of practice probably know which ones those may be, that are implementing the techniques but not really following up with the product. And so I think that those firms are seeing a lot of turnover. And if that starts to happen in your own practice, that I would say start to focus on more of the substantive work that you're doing and refine that. But that's not the purpose of today. Today is for me to just say, here's the tools, the techniques, and assume that all of you are wonderful practicing attorneys with great integrity, and the other part's not an issue. So the topics that I'll be covering today are bringing in the business. So my goal is to say, okay, from day one, what did we do in building our practice to set us apart? What are people asking us about? What's working? What are the clients commenting on? And that starts with the drive-by, people driving by your office, people looking you up on the internet, and your first point of contact. So I want to take you from that point, and then I want to walk you into the front doors of our firm and say, here's what we've done, walking into the front doors of our firm. And after that part, I want to talk about the policies and the procedures. What are actually going on behind the scenes with us that we've done, and some of it's not worked, and there are parts of this that are really based on that, and I'll point those out. And staffing, and part of that comes with growth. So when we started, it was 2 of us, and now we've gone to 4 attorneys. So it was 2 of us and 5 staff. And now we've grown to 4 attorneys. We're looking at possibly a 5th, hopefully, and we're looking at 12 staff, and we're looking at moving to 14. So that's where we've grown in a year and a half. And like I said, there's been plenty of growing pains for sure, and I'll share those war stories with you too. Then I'm going to talk about the specific softwares. Many of you may be in practices, it looks like there's a diverse group, so I'm going to do my best to not make it so basic, but share with you what I use, if that's helpful. Again, at the end too, if anybody has, like I said, my whole point is to take an hour and a half and share as much useful information as I can. So that means that if you have a program that you think works great, I would ask that you take the time at the question, part of the portion, and share that. So, because I don't, certainly not aware of everything. And then beyond the software, the client resources, and the things that we're giving back to the clients and the things that we're making available to the clients. And lastly, remote capabilities, which is one of my favorite topics, because it means that I'm out of the office and I can be billing while I'm getting my toes done, and a lot of other things that have improved my quality of life. So first, the bringing in the business. So the then and now. We can start at the range where back then you were looking at one attorney, one paralegal, and again, just say the candidates. That's still going to work for some people. But the one attorney, one paralegal, you hang out the shingle, you put your name out there, and everybody you know in town knows exactly what you do, right? The marketing was often done through groups like Rotary, other networking and community groups, phone, word of mouth, and then, that was really the starting point. Now, over the last few years, we've grown, but the expansion has really been, you were limited by space and time. And now technology is growing again at such a rapid pace. Like, really the market difference was in the last couple of years with the accessibility of the iPad and other, iPhone, and then that's where there's just been, just a crazy increase in what you can do with your space and time. So the first point of contact it can be the website, but that's even a now. To me, that's even a then now. People aren't accessing the website anymore. They're accessing their mobile devices. 70% statistics show clients that are going to be searching you out are going to be looking you up on their phone. If you don't have a website, and I don't, by the way, we are having that implemented right now. But if you don't have a site that it's either scalable or that it's actually a mobile site, studies are showing that clients are moving on to those firms that do. And if you do Google searches for this stuff, you'll find that there's really, and I know in our area of practice in family law, only a few firms, less than a handful of firms in the Bay Area and the Tri-Valley area who have that right now. So that's number one on our hot list, is to get that done, and that's what we're hiring someone to do now. So everyone's moving to their phones, you know that. Also, part of our experience was when my partner and I were becoming partners. She dissolved her partnership with my old boss, and my partner was a specialist in family law, and my old boss was a specialist in estate planning. So it was kind of a hybrid firm. And they had the firm name, which was Abramson and Tate, okay, just like everybody else. Well, when they dissolved their partnership and Patty and I became partners, we were exploring the ideas, again, of what we wanted to be. And so we thought, well, we're going to do Abramson Hooker, we're going to do Abramson and Hooker, what is that? And as we started to talk, we realized that even though there's a lot of web-based information, a lot of web-based people searching us out through the web, there's also a lot of people in the community that are just driving by. And so we thought between the two, between the community seeing us if they don't know us or word of mouth, and the web, which is Google searches and everybody else looking for you through a number of searches, we wanted to identify ourselves by our area of practice. So we were exploring the ideas, Abramson and Hooker Family Law Group, and that just seemed like a mouthful. And so, and we finally got down and we just said, well, what about Family Law Group? So what about Family Law Group? And this was a year and a half ago, and we thought, well, somebody would have come up with that by now if that was okay, And we called the state bar, and they appeared just as, kind of confused as we did about why nobody was really doing that, but that there was no rules against that whatsoever. And so we did. We named ourselves, obviously, the Family Law Group. And we're starting to see more of that. We're starting to see more firms popping up that are identifying themselves in one way or another by their area of practice. And it's very web-friendly. and for more than one reason. But since the outset of our business a year and a half ago, our revenue has increased by 50%. So, and let's see, right when we were starting out, less than 5% of our business was generated off the internet. It was mostly referral. We didn't do a whole lot of marketing. My partner has a long history in town. But that was at less than 5%. Today, it's nearing 60% of our business is all website generated. And so the business coming in is really what's allowed us to grow as well. Because we couldn't keep growing and expanding. And by growing and expanding, you're increasing your ability to earn profit, which is a nice goal also. And we were able to do that much in part, we believe, by naming our practice, not the traditional way, but making sure it was affiliated with what we did. The website itself, again, probably maybe a little crossover here, but it's part of our story that I think is important. So the website design there's the old website design, and then what consultants are calling the way of the future. So, and I can speak for family law. We you have the family at the table, and then you have them standing, like this next to each other, and you've got the not clip art, but you've got the pictures like that, or the broken heart, something like that, and you've got a traditional website. What we did is, instead of identify necessarily our area of practice, which we did by our name, we wanted to pick something that represented what we were, or where we were rather, in the community, and not necessarily who we were, which our name accomplished. We did that by, we're placed in Livermore, and out in Livermore, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Altamont and the windmills. And we primarily serve Alameda County, Contra Costa County, and San Joaquin County. And the windmills really touch the midpoint of all of those things. And so we found that this was something that we identified, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, both from consultants and other consultants who have contacted us, not our own, and also and our clients about the reception to this way of doing the website. The other part that's important is motion, that you have a motion on your page. You may be familiar with that, but you want some movement. Clients want movement. They want to see something happening. Testimonials are huge. And there's different consultants that can help you with that. By the way, if you want, I try and give as many references and referrals in here as I can to things, but if you ever want specific referrals that aren't mentioned, again, just contact me or ask me, and I'll direct you in the right direction. Another thing that people are doing is, instead of a location identifier, they're taking art, and in some form or another, whether it be classic art or modern art, and something that identifies what they do or who they want to be as a practice, and they're implementing that into their websites. I found, this is just a picture of ours. There is movement on ours. We do the testimonials come in and out. But anyways, this is just a still picture of ours. But I found that if you did, and part of what we did is we researched the major cities, and we also researched medical practices to see what they were doing. Studies also show that medical practices, again, for whatever reason, because that takes a lot of experience, but were more cutting edge in their marketing than the legal community. So we took what we did, and we searched out firms that were in the major cities like New York or Dallas or San Francisco, and Googled a lot of that, got a little different ideas, and came up with our own. So that's your first point of contact: the drive-by, the website, the mobile contact. Then what we found is that clients are looking for more. This is an age where you've got everybody's attention for about 5 seconds. You got to sell them in about 5 seconds. But also, everybody's yelping, everybody's who's got the better thing, and there's a lot of vying for that. So Patty and I have committed a lot of time what we call front stage versus backstage. Our front stage is what the client is going to see from the time that they walk in the door. So, again, this may not be for everybody, but we had an interior decorator. We made sure that our firm felt as comforting and as homey as it would if the client were someplace that they wanted to be, like at a hotel or something. We also make sure that there's resources while they're sitting in the waiting room, that they're greeted, first of all, that they're greeted by a live person. We make sure that they always know the client's name, whether new or returning, that they're greeted by their name, that they're greeted with offer for coffee and water, and that they're really treated with that respect. Another important thing, and all of these things, specific things that I'm mentioning, clients have gone out of their way to mention specifically. So the other thing we make sure is that our staff, who we have quite a bit of up in the front, is very aware of what they're talking about to one another, that there's not a lot of laughing or joking or talking about what they're going to do on the weekend with their kids or whatever, because most of the time if a client is in an attorney's office, it's to one degree or another usually a solemn experience, and that type of behavior is not well received. We have had clients, several clients, literally retain us before the consultation just based on our front stage. So walking in, they either said, I've shopped around, I've been in other attorneys' offices, or I'm coming from another attorney, and they walk in and they say, you know what, I want to be here. Just let me sign up now. Whatever it is that you do, I know that I want to be here, and that I'll be well taken care of. And so a lot of attorneys then, and I think we're hesitant, and for understandable reasons, if you're running a firm, which is one attorney, one paralegal, or something to that sort, your bottom line is really important, and so, or it can be easily affected by the resources that you put forward in these areas. And so a lot of attorneys are hesitant to do that. So you have a small space, you limit the resource that you put towards making a client feel good, or the pretty, the fluff, whatever. But we're finding that people are leaving and making decisions literally sometimes solely based on that experience alone. The other thing they're looking for is accessibility. So they want to make sure that they know their attorney is going to be accessible rather quickly. There's two ways of doing this. We do it, one, making sure that we always have a staff person that's available to talk to them during the weekday at any time. Also a promise that the attorney will return their calls within 24 hours, which we all know is a good practice anyways, but we make ourselves accessible. The other way we do that is through resources on our website. We make sure that when our clients leave our office, they're given a pack of resources, including an article that we've written about what the process is going to be like for our family law client. We refer them to that. We are also, we have facts, we have information about court. We're able easily to direct them. So the common questions you're getting calls from clients about, they know from day one that they can access that information any time of day. And again, that's been well received. The branding, the logo. This is another thing that's being perceived as modern, and it's not. This isn't entirely new. But picking a logo is something that you're seeing done a lot more, and it really allows you then to begin to use it on a lot of things and get outreach that way. So, like for us, just our logo that we picked, we went back and forth. We talked about using our initials, and so our logo is, let's see here, but it's this FL and the family law group. We use the FL because, again, we're trying to identify the family law pretty prominently. We took efforts to make sure that we were using a font that was like the Declaration of Independence, which instilled a feeling of history and law and confidence, and took time to think about how all of those littlest things would affect the clients, and it's been good for us. So now that they're in the door and the client has hopefully had a great first impression of you, wants to say, and it's only yours to screw it up now. We look at the policies and the procedures that we as a modern law practice are trying to refine, create and refine. There has not been a lot of consultants available for this type of work, so it's something that this is the trial and error, a big part of our trial. So the then approach, you had Mary, we want to hire a new paralegal support staff or associate. And there's not a lot of time, attorneys never have time to invest in training this individual on a slow pace, and there's usually not a set training session or manual in place. And so you have the older paralegal will teach the newer paralegal what they like, and then, like I said, then the attorney corrects them both daily, and this ever-evolving and yet undocumented process. It really is, if you're interested in growth and you're interested in being perceived as cutting edge, it's going to be a major hindrance to those things. We found that as we began to grow, we had multiple paralegals and multiple attorneys now, and if they were each sending out their own letterhead or the way they even signed it, regards, and sometimes it was sincerely yours, and I would say not sincerely anyone's, but my husband's, and then someone said, regards is really personal. But so there was all these different ways of doing it, and down to the littlest thing like that. We decided that we wanted everything that went out of our office, regardless of who it was from, to look identical, so that people really did identify us as a family law group. And again, just the smallest things can instill that confidence and that sense of civility, and that was one of them. We make sure that all of the emails, this is something that we notice that people aren't doing, and yet when you do it, it kind of stands out. Make sure that all of your emails that are going out, if you have that logo, that you include that logo. You take the opportunity to do the branding there, and you make sure that something as simple as the auto signature is exactly the same on every single computer. So whether it's one of our 12 staff or one of the 4 attorneys, every email is going to look identical. They may be different in tone, but they'll look identical to the person receiving them. We found that it was, as we grew, it was starting to take time for each attorney to decide how they wanted certain forms prepared. What font somebody was using, what font somebody thought the other should be using, and that was actually sucking up the partner's time for us sitting there trying to hash through each one of these individual decisions. So as we've grown, we found it much more efficient to take one of our senior paralegals and appoint him as the office manager. And that has, we've just done that in the last 6 months, and that has gone a long way towards solving the questions, the issues of uniformity, making sure that everything that goes out is consistent, looks the same, professional, and he's able to make most of those decisions. And if there's any questions, he meets with my partner or I briefly, we can make a determination, and then he disseminates that. And so it's, we took one person, it probably, especially if we get bigger, it probably could end up being a full-time job, being an office manager, I'm sure. Right now, he's able to do both, wear both hats and commit, even just a few hours a week, wearing that hat, making those decisions, and then reporting back to my partner and I, which frees up our time so that we can be working with clients and on client cases. The training program. So this was another trial and error that we had. So we've been very fortunate to have some very good paralegals. But as we've grown, we've needed to fill the spots for new paralegals. And if anybody's tried to do this, it's not easy. There's not a lot of good support staff out there. But then what we found is that there is good support staff out there. But if you want someone who's experienced, they've gained the experience doing it somewhere else. And so they come in to your office. And again, if you're growing at this rate and you have the business coming in, time is a luxury. And so we had people coming in, and they had experience, and we expected them to be able to sit in the chair and begin billing to a certain extent. we said, hey, listen, we understand that for the first, 2 weeks, a month, your billables are going to be slow. You're going to get used to the programs that we use. Our, office manager will help do that. Everybody else will help pitch in. If you have any other questions, just ask, and that was kind of our philosophy. What we were finding is because we do have so many procedures and so many policies and so many things that we like done precisely, that the paralegals that were coming in there, despite having experience, were feeling overwhelmed. And that was fair. It was completely fair. And we hadn't allotted the time to them to be trained the way they should have been trained. And it wasn't time. But the few that have come and gone probably would have been well served. And the first ones we let go because we said, that you're not doing it to the standard that we need, and we don't have the time to have the reputation screwed up. So that was it. And then we were getting feet. We were saying, well, wait a minute. Now we're into our third person here. Maybe it's us. And asking for that honest feedback and getting that because of course, if you're in a situation like that, it's somewhat intimidating. They want to appear as if they know what they're doing. And the sense of being overwhelmed was just leading to a not ideal work environment for them. So what we realized is that we really did have to take the time to create a specific training program, and that did take time. We're still doing it. It still takes time, and that when the paralegals come in, that they are given an actual training program, just like you would in many other industries. That they're allotted a solid 2 weeks, and that you take away from your billable employees, your paralegals who are used to doing this, and you assign somebody to them, and you make sure that they have all of the information. And that they're trained intensively. And that's, it's an investment because then you as the attorney have to figure out how you're going to, do extra because now your paralegal is busy during the day. You're going to lose those billable hours, and they're all considerations that you need to take into account. But as long as you do it and you do it right, then you're able to keep building a solid foundation, and they'll be able to train the next one. But I think it's a time commitment that's important, and for us, it was one of the things that had somebody told us how important it was, we would have saved ourselves more time and money in the long run. Office policies and procedures. Again, this is a thing that a lot of law firms just don't have. We didn't have it before in all the years that I worked there. We had something little, like in a drawer somewhere, but not anything that was current. It was updated, and again, it's an investment in time that you're going to assign someone to, but there's different portions you can assign to different people. We have billable and non-billable employees, so we'll take the non-billables and have them, take their own job and say, what do you do? Take your job and write it for exactly what you do. And then we make sure when, the office manager or somebody else is updating a policy or a procedure that we are committed to updating the actual manuals so that those stay current. And if something happens and a temp needs to come in or somebody else comes in, we've got that manual and it's going to help us progress much faster. Again, you're starting to see law firms go from acting like law firms in the past to acting more like business practices. And the hybrid, I think, is the key to success in setting yourself apart. Again, so this is uniformity. We down to let's see what else. I'm not sure if I did anything else here. The way we did the signatures, the letterhead, the font that we used on letters, the font that we used on judicial forms, the font that we used in briefs. Just make sure that every little detail is the same. It doesn't really matter what it is. Just make it be the same. And that's the logo right there. Okay, growth and hiring. So I've obviously been discussing this a bit. But again, as you see, as I have seen, and this is in talking to other attorneys of mine who are younger and are becoming partners now, and are entrepreneurial in spirit, we're kind of anxious for growth, and we're seeing either the more senior partners or just smaller solo law firms be very resistant to growth. So I was very interested into why that was, and I don't ever assume to know the right answer, especially in things of this nature. And I respect that there could be very good reasons why you don't want to grow and just make more money, because you can make money off. Obviously a firm is going to be profitable by a billable employee. Well, that's what I thought. So what I found out is that historically associates are not very profitable for law firms, and a lot of the resistance has come there. Also, there's an increased liability. That's been more and more the traditional fears. Again, I think if you take the time and you commit to training them right, you minimize that liability. But it's been a consideration we found, which is by partners, why they're resistant. So what I did, and one of the things that I think is helpful for me to share with you, one of the most helpful things, is when you're hiring an associate, what kind of compensation structure should you be looking at? So I think for me, it was particularly helpful because I was just on the other side of this fence, right? I was an associate. I wanted to work hard. I wanted to make more money. I may be different than some, but I was always running the numbers behind the scenes, and you're not privy to the information as you are the same way you are when you run a law firm, to what actual costs are and all of that. But I try and guesstimate. The point for me was I really wanted the opportunity to work hard and earn more. And I found that my partners at that time were resistant to that idea. They then built in, just because I annoyed them to death, but I was also working hard and I was also profitable. They worked in a bonus schedule for me, and it just, for a myriad of reasons, just didn't really work. So one of the things I did is when Patty and I became partners, I had a frank discussion with her. Now I was privy to the other side of the books, right? Now I was privy to, and some of it was very enlightening, but as to why they were resistant to offering something of me having a stake in my income, but or the revenues rather. So, but my partner and I, we worked together, and I said, this is what I want to offer to associates here, and I want to find a way that if they work hard, they will be rewarded. So, and I find that when that's true, people have a bigger stake in it. They're more motivated, and ultimately they're more satisfied, and that's an important part of a good quality of life. And she was in agreement with that. We just had to find a way to do it. So what we did is we developed a compensation structure that works for us. And I can tell you this is one of those areas where people will have different philosophies on it, but it's worked for us. Our associates are happy, and they've got an opportunity to earn as much as they want. And as they earn, we grow. So the basic concept is that associate attorneys would be able to earn about a third, and this part is not an entirely new idea, how to actually perform it and not have your partnership or your business go under was the information that I found difficult to find. So we came up with something where they would earn about a third of what they were actually bringing in. And if you want, you can take notes or you can just listen. I'm happy to hand out what we offer to our associates. Here's our associate compensation package with an explanation of what we expect, and then also with an explanation of costs, which I'll go over. So when an attorney comes in, we actually start at a rather low rate. When a brand new attorney, we've been willing to pay as much as $20 or $25 an hour, which is not much. But we let them know, if you come in here, we will teach you, we will train you, we will teach you all the ways we've learned how to gain a good reputation. We will let you go out into court sooner rather than later. We don't believe in shadowing the attorney forever, but once ready, get in there, get a continuance, get this, get that. You'll have the opportunity to grow your own practice, and you'll have your own cases soon. In our experience, that about 2 years, they've been able to begin to build their own practices. At that point, we offer them the compensation package, okay? And we say, here's the deal. If you bring in, well, let me get to that part. So we actually, out exactly, and this is what I'll hand you, exactly what the expectations are for them for their schedule. When they're expected to be at the office. In that, we also built in, when we talk to them, that we want a certain level of independence for our associates. A lot of associates are unhappy and leave firms, even if they're making a lot of money, just because the expectations on them are that they're in trouble if they're not in the office all the time on a certain day. And, you know, by that time, even when I was an associate, it was like, I worked hard and I was an adult and you wanted to gain some of that freedom. So we let them know, you know, if you're doing what you need to be doing and you're meeting your numbers and your clients are happy and we're not getting complaints, you know, and you want to take Tuesday off, you don't need to, you know, put it in the books. Tell the staff that you're going to be out. We're not going to watch you every minute, but the regular expectations are kind of here. And, you know, if you're doing good, you won't hear from us, and if you're not, we'll mention it. So, but we like to set them out front. The next thing we do is we tell them that they are expected to contribute monthly to the blog. Blogging, again, this may be a crossover, but we found that blogging is such an important part on keeping that fresh, current, or keeping your website fresh and current now with the searches. Literally, if we've fallen off and got lackadaisical on the blogs for a period of 2 months, the calls will start dropping dramatically, and then we'll do one in, and they'll pick right back up. And so, combined with the information that we received from our consultants, but also that of our trial and error, it was a really important part. And honestly, about the blogs, I mean, can take 20 to 30 minutes, you know, and you're talking once or twice a month. You're committing that. And you're going to post it to your website, which is fairly easy to do. All you need is someone easy to tell you how to do it to your own website. You don't need to have somebody doing it all the time. But we tell them that is part of their obligation. We also then outline what they are obligated or encouraged to do, rather, for pro bono representation and what the limitations are. So we have in here that they shouldn't exceed any 5% of the billable time per month. And so if an associate is billing about 100 hours, which is our suggested minimum, which is reasonable, if you're earning $275 an hour, you're contributing about $1,400 a month to pro bono work. There's a lot of value in pro bono work, especially for associates to learn, but also as you continue to go on. But to limit it, because associates can get sucked up. They don't know the business end of it yet, oftentimes, especially when they're brand new. So, you know, monitoring to make sure you're working on a case that has money in it isn't always something that just comes naturally. They need to understand that if they're committing to, you know, the bleeding heart, they've gotten approval to do so, that's fine, but they really need to watch their time. And that's for their benefit too, because when they sign up for our packet, you know, our compensation structure, the deal is, you know, if you do good, you'll earn more. And if you don't, we're going to have to, you know, make a decrease. And that's just the way it goes. And that's, you know, that's like having a stake in any business. You know, you don't get the stability, but it's a reality that can happen. So I think that's it. Then on the pro bono, then participation in local bar associations. And then we lay out exactly what the formula will be for their one-third of receivables. Now, figuring out what the actual compensation structure should be was, again, an important part of our trial and error. Oftentimes, people will say, okay, 1/3 of what they actually bring in. But there's several costs that go into an associate that aren't often considered. And so what I've seen, and I've actually had several partners just in the last year contact me and say, okay, well, what are you doing with associates? You know, I need to know what you're doing with associates because I'm offering them $80,000 to $100,000 and they're not covering it, and I'm not quite sure why. And it's because they're not taking into consideration the additional costs that should be considered. And when you do that, and I found that when we communicate this directly to our associates, and had it been communicated directly to me, it would have been very helpful. Hiding the cost and one, not understanding it leads to dissatisfaction and a false sense of what should be compensated for, and not communicating it is just only, you know, doing yourself a disservice. So, anyways, what I've attached here is what we worked with, again, a series of resources, figuring out exactly an Excel spreadsheet formula, what included their payroll taxes. So we took their base salary. And we said, okay, if you want your base salary to be this is what you have to bring in, and break it down to billable hours. Now, I'll tell you what we use as a sample for them. This is what I brought in my second year of practice. So this is not unreasonable. And under this, I could have been earning $130,000, which would have been nice. I wasn't earning anything near that, but I could have been. And my point was, the more they work, the more a firm is going to benefit, the more profitable it is for everybody. So why not use this? Again, I think where the firms go wrong is they guarantee these salaries that can't sustain, where they're seeing very little profit, and so you've got dissatisfied parties on both sides. So we start with the base salary. We add in the payroll taxes, the workers' comp, profit sharing. So if you offer any 401k plans, the dues that we cover on behalf of the associates, continuing education. We send them to programs. They also are going to be responsible for paying a portion of the paralegal's salary. And then also the space and supplies, which we used a really conservative amount. We were told that you should use something close to $30,000 or $3,500 a month for what it costs for an attorney to rent the space, use the computers, use the phones, all of that. That was just too high for us. That just didn't seem fair for an associate. So we just made a decision that was going to be $1,000 what you pay for use of all of this space if you want to go rent your own space and start your own practice somewhere else. And so this is what we've developed. And like I said, I'll leave them up here at the end if you're interested in taking one. This is the kind of information I think, it took us forever to try and find and figure out ourselves. And so if you can get it from someone else quicker, that's what we should all be doing for each other. So that's the hiring associates and how you can get some help there. Again, as you do that, obviously your firm generates more profit, more things that you can throw towards resources, generate more business, and it's a cyclical. Growth in hiring, billable employees versus non-billable employees. Really, there's a need for both. Again, it's an added resource, but I know that there's a lot of people who use answering services or just voicemails. Again, not knocking it, just if you want to be setting yourself apart and growing and being that modern firm, you really need to contribute resources towards that. On the support staff, this is actually also true for the associate attorneys as well, but particularly for your support staff. So there is a website called Colby.com, and the cost of the Colby is it's relatively low considering the return. What Colby is Colby is a test that, and I won't bore you with all the sales pitch on it. You can go read it for yourself. But we've been using it the entire time. They were actually using it before I became partner. So it's proven to be very successful for us along the way. Like I said, except for this one paralegal problem we've been having, we have very low turnover of firms, very low. And we attribute a big part of that to this the Colby program. So for the Colby test. What the Colby does is it gives a test that you can take online. So like we'll interview somebody for a support position, down to the receptionist. So even the receptionist will take a Colby. And it's a 30-minute test online. Anybody can take it. It's kind of one of those first responses. It's not an intellectual test. It's actually fascinating, if you go on and read it, about how we are all born with innate tendencies to want to perform in a professional capacity in certain ways. So it's a very specific niche, and it gives you 4 categories. So what you do as the attorney is you take your own test, right? And there's quick start, there's fact finder, there's follow through, and then there's implementer. Quick start is very entrepreneurial people. I need to get my quick start goes all the way up to the bottom. And then, get things done, get a project started, and then the fact finder is people who need to gather all of the facts before they make a decision. Then there's the follow through, which means once I've done something, I'm able to follow through with it, and I'm good at that. And then the implementer, which I don't find, we haven't found a lot in our practice, applies a lot, but it's usually people who are good at hands-on things, building things hand-on. So it's not really applicable to much of what we do. But what you do, so you take it as the attorney. Like, so for me, I'm a huge quick start. I'm medium on the fact finder. A lot of attorneys are a lot more fact finder than I am. And then the follow through I'm not good at that. And so then it says, okay, in order for you to have the perfect relationship with your support staff or anybody working for you, and so that you will be happy and they will be happy doing what they're good at, you're looking for someone with scores similar to these. And you help match you up. So somebody will come in, apply for a paralegal position, and I'll say, okay, I got a good feeling about this person. Let's go ahead and just call them up and have them do a Colby from home. And they'll do a Colby from home, they'll get their scores, they'll get a whole analysis, and then they'll rate it, like A, B, B+, B-, C, on what the probability is that this would be a good match for you professionally. So I think each test, I'm guessing now, but I think each test is maybe $25, $30 or something like that. So it's a little bit of an investment. But like I said, for us, we really attribute our low turnaround to matching ourselves for the Colby match. And for us, it's really come down sometimes to a couple of candidates that you were happy with both of them, but we picked the one that was the Colby match, the better Colby match. And so, you wait till you find someone that you feel pretty good about, and then you use it. Okay, the last point on growth, I think I'm going to touch on later on. Okay, so, 5:30. Okay, so I'm going to move through some of this kind of fast. So the software that we're using is computer-based case management systems that are available for purchase, are really good these days. We use a system called Abacus. You may use it, you may be familiar with it, you may not. But what Abacus does is it comes in and it operates as our full case management system. So that we get a call, it does the conflict checks. Every bit of our contacts go in there. Every case matter goes in there. Every one of our files, as we're going green, which I'll touch on, is scanned in there. So we also, every day we pop onto our computers and we pull up Abacus. And it has our, our name and our plaque, and it has our schedule, and then it has everybody's calendar. And you can pick to see your own calendar, you can see everybody's calendar, but the paralegals use it so that anything that comes in through the door, they're automatically entering it into this universal system, and we have a procedure for doing that. The wonderful thing about Abacus now is that it also auto-generates deadlines depending on the county that you're in and the area of practice. So, like for us, we have settlement conferences, and we put in there, okay, we have a settlement conference, I just got back from court on such and such a date, and it'll say, okay, 30 days before, you need to do this on this form. And so it's really taking the human error out of calendaring, and that's, for us, been a huge difference in the client complaints that you get, and or building our reputation as attorneys and not making mistakes. So I would vouch for the program hands down. It also has an IM, so it shows a little bubble at the bottom, and we can talk, we communicate inter-office, or even from our homes. My partner and I, or even the associates, will be working from home, and we're all on the same messaging system. We just IM each other while we're working. And you can IM everyone, or just a few people, or one person, but we are constantly communicating on that basis. It can generate billing, it can do calendaring, there's a lot of things that it can do. Let's see, okay, forms update for forms software programs. We use Essential Forms. There's a couple of great ones out there. Many of you probably know about this one degree or another, but it's worth the investment. It'll give you all the judicial counsel forms. It'll make sure if anything goes outdated, you are notified. You're not using old forms, which are getting rejected by the court. And also now, the software is allowing for document generation. You can plan ahead for when these documents are going to print, so you know exactly when they're coming up. And again, you're meeting your deadlines.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
We use Abacus as well, and I've been really struggling because their judicial counsel form program is not fantastic, and I was wondering if we would just be better off using a different program for the forms.
That was our experience.
Okay.
And Essential Forms, the investment again, I don't know right off the top of my head, but it wasn't huge. But we were not, a number of problems, formatting issues, form generation, it was problematic for us, so we found it better to invest in it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so cloud systems. So this is where we really move into the techie stuff. So some of you may be familiar. There's probably a different level of your experience with cloud systems, but getting a cloud system, this is what everybody's going to be doing now. And if you don't take the time to, it's like learning a cell phone. Like you just got to do it now. Learn how to do it, and it is rather easy when you do. You're going to be behind your colleagues. Your clients are going to look at you like you're doing things differently, and I guarantee you that's going to happen on very short notice. In the meantime, you're going to look like you're doing it better than everybody else. So, security concerns are always one of the resistance, especially more vintage attorneys have had in this, but those have really been minimized, and there's a lot of guarantees. Now the state bars are really telling you that the attorney obligation is to ensure that whatever iCloud system that you're using, that their fine print, their security measures are enough to satisfy you of your obligations as an attorney, and that's where your obligation ends. So those are being reduced to the point where it's not a major concern anymore. That's to each of you to decide for yourself. Two of the major ones are Dropbox and SugarSync. So, like for me, I use my iPad for almost everything. I could have used it today for the PowerPoint presentation, which I would have done, but I didn't have the adapter. But it's also what I take with me to court. And so there's a lot you can do with just iPads on your iPad app. Then there's what you can do with Dropbox. So what Dropbox is it's a program you go onto a website, so you sign on online from your desktop, let's say, and you download a Dropbox there. Then as you're saving a Word document or a PowerPoint or a spreadsheet or a PDF or anything, you can also just save it in your Dropbox. That means then I can access that document in particular from my iPad, my iPhone, my home computer, wherever I happen to be able to access the web itself, I can access all of my documents very easily. One of the biggest things that I've been using that I really like, and this was a then and now thing, is go to mypc.com. And this isn't the only one, it's my biggest one, it's not on the slide. So, but it's $20 a month, $19.95 a month. And I tried it years ago, and it was slow, it wasn't good. And then several months ago, I went on and tried it again. And it's really fantastic. I literally, if I'm at court, because we have that Abacus server, I can go to my PC, I can log onto my computer, and I can pull up anything. I can pull up an email from a client, I can pull up anything from their soft copy files, which if you're just using an app, using PDFs you can't do, but it's literally like I'm sitting at my computer. And I can actually do it from my phone. It's like for ants, but so it's a little bit difficult to maneuver sometimes, but you can still do it. And certainly in the case of an emergency, you're able to get the information that you need. And I found it tremendously helpful, especially at court several times. So having this iCloud allows you to work obviously away from the office more often, and that also frees up time and space to expand, and I might be limited on my time to talk about this stuff, but it then frees up office space. So again, being limited by space and time, you have 4 attorneys and 4 offices, right? Well, if you learn to manage and coordinate your schedules, where certain people are out on these days, and these days, or these half days, and are working from home on these days, you can actually hire additional people, either part-time or full-time, and you can coordinate the use of the space. And so if you do that, you can grow your practice, even though you maybe normally would have been confined by the space or the number of rooms that you have. So again, it's not an insurmountable task to do that coordinating, but it's certainly a finite problem, which you can do, and you're starting to see more firms utilizing that. Again, growing profitability. Billing, this is, we use Interbill. There's an app that you can use also if you just search legal billing. I'll go over some apps. I'm not sure if I included that one. We use Interbill, which is very easy. Then you used to take your time, write it on a piece of paper, spend a few hours at the end of the week, enter that. Very time consuming. Interbill allows you to enter it as you go, and then generates the invoices for you. It's a wonderful program. whole thing on how to bill, which I'm a big proponent of. Marketing to your own clients. I think when you enter your bills, be cognizant of the fact that they're always discoverable, but I always like to include something that I'm doing for the client. So if I'm preparing a brief for attorney's fees, I don't just say 3 hours of brief for attorney's fees and they go, great, I just spent $1,000 trying to get $5,000 from the other side, or whatever it is. But I say right on there, preparing our argument for the best case scenario of obtaining $5,000 from the other side. Now that client feels like they got the bang for their buck. And since we've started doing the training on having everyone enter their bills this way to some degree or another, we've had far less complaints about the bills or even questions about the bills. And when we have, we've been able to defend them. And in the couple of circumstances that we've had to go through fee arb, they've been wonderful assets in having us win those fee arbs. The other thing I'll touch on real quick is zero billing. A lot of attorneys, would work and be up at night, they're working here. I can't bill the client for that. So they just leave it off. They just don't bill the client. Well, that's not helping you. It's not helping the client, because inevitably the client's going to come back and say, hey, well, I don't want to pay this $35 for the letter that you had to send to her attorney. Some complaint's going to come up. And when you can say, hey, listen, there was 3 hours I spent on this brief, I can show you right here, I just didn't charge you for it. That gets rid of those. Again, it was a fact. In both fee arbs that I had the fortune of going through, they noted that we did zero billing, and it was a contributing factor to us doing this. Evergreen. Okay, so old school billing was, here's your retainer, $2,500. When you get low, call me. You're gonna have to come up with the money. A lot of the problem with that is that you get into a case, $2,500, especially these days, is not going as far as it used to, and now you're barely at a hearing or whatever it is, and you're forced to ask for more money, and yet you're connected to this case and committed to, and it's this really awkward tug of war, and it can quickly make your receivables go up, which can be very problematic to a firm. And so one thing we do is we make sure we train our associates on how to be aware of these factors. But the other thing that's really helpful that's changed things for us dramatically is we do an evergreen agreement. So I've actually brought samples if anyone's interested in an evergreen. And the evergreen basically says, here, we're going to do a lower retainer, because many of the firms, modern firms, they're going to say, I called up and take $10,000. I don't want to pay $10,000, And we say, okay, well, we do $2,500, which will get you in the door. And oftentimes it's just that first number that's a shock to them. But we explain that is like a security deposit, just as if you were renting an apartment. And that's intended to be applied towards your last bill. So if we get to the point where you don't have any more resources, we'll help you get hooked up where you need to be, but that's going to pay your last bill. And we make the expectations clear up front. And then in the meantime, we get a credit card. In the rare instance, we use a check, but almost everybody's using a credit card. We say, we'll just bill you what we do for this month. So sometimes it's $17.50, $17.50. Other times we go to a hearing, it's $1,500. Sometimes we go to trial, it's a lot more. But this has cut our receivables down dramatically just by implementing this practice. And as long as we tell them up front, we really have just had nothing but good feedback from the clients. Okay, so the client resources, this is one of the things, again, we put our resources towards our financial resources, which helps with the branding, but we found that the clients really like something to take away. So literally from the time that they go in the door, they'll have the bugs available for them, for coffee, we've got water. When they sign up and retain us, or if they just even come for a consult, we send them away with a folder, information about us that's in there that they need, vital information. We make sure our letterhead and our envelopes are all matching and contain our logos. And then even at the end of the case, or during the case rather, they'll get a flashlight. And this is something that's just such an inexpensive way to do things, and yet the clients love it. And they're just like, nobody else does this. I'm lugging around, they're like, especially in divorces, they're lugging around their bag all the time with all their stuff. And they've got this, and they can take it home, add to it. We can just send them stuff, they save it to it, and this now becomes what they're walking around with, sometimes for 2 or 3 years, and this is their file. And then at the end of the case, we'll also make sure they get everything they need and want on this, and they walk away, and this is what they have, and we have one. And that's what we have now. So instead of buildings full of files, which are keeping for years on end, or paying for storage or van, you're literally going down to here now. Now, the caveat to that is you have to check with your malpractice carrier to make sure that they, whatever their conditions are. But ours is 6 months, so we're keeping hard files for 6 months, and we're able to keep the scanning and everything else on this now going forward, which again is freeing up our space and then leads for opportunity for more growth within our walls. This stuff right here, Zazzle.com, fantastic. If you need anything customized, I'd highly recommend them. They're very reasonable. We even have, mine broke, but we had cell phone covers with the family law group on that, and we could carry our cards in there, so the attorneys have that. But we want to be, recognized as a family law group when we come in and out of court or with our clients. Zazzle's great because they'll return anything. I just ordered bridal shower invitations 3 times because my friend, Bridezilla, and they took them back and returned them, no questions asked. So, so you can just keep ordering stuff for your firm, and if you don't like it, you just keep sending it back till you get it right. This is efficiency. Clients want efficiency. Have them, more resources available on your website. I'm going to kind of get through this. Storage going green, scanning, the scanning capabilities. If you're not doing it, you gotta start. It's going to be archaic in no time. Again, the flash drives. Consultations and appointments, virtual capabilities. So the first thing is that we make sure that clients are able to, from their iPad or their mobile site, be able to make a consultation just like that. I'm not going to speak to the moral decay of society, but it's something that I think we're all recognizing that even though it's good to have a live person there, there's more and more generation coming up that rather do things rather anonymously, without the contact, and if you make it easy for them to do so, we're having people schedule consultations without ever talking. I think you're going to see more and more of that, especially for the phone. Skype and FaceTime. Again, using this iPad, people like to be able to do this from the privacy of their home or their office. You're able to talk with clients or do client consultations literally by just setting this up and sitting there and having it. So they're not having to interrupt their work day by driving down, beating traffic, their spouse not knowing where they are in my case. Whatever it may be, you are making yourself more accessible and cutting down on the time, especially for your clients. For you, you're also expanding the the capabilities that you have and the access that you have to clients, whether it be further distances away, out-of-county cases, out-of-state cases. The other thing that we're looking forward to now, and this is something that we're still developing, is that the associates even are looking at developing their websites, specific websites, which is easy, getting domains, and offering consultations on particular issues that we feel like that they are prepared to do that too. They can now do that throughout the state with the caveats that they're going to be county-specific rules, etc. Obviously, there's a lot that you can understand goes into that. But at a reduced rate, they're able to now market online to clients, for us family law clients throughout the state, and say, you can sign up to your FaceTime for an hour consultation. You're able to charge your card right there and go over a lot of issues that they are prepared and that they do have the information about, whether it be community property law or what. And again, now you're talking about people throughout the state that are at least able to do a consultation, and oftentimes that's all people want. So that's somewhere we're expanding now too, and it also gets the associates a lot of the practice that they need. Our associates are also trained that if they don't know an answer, they're always going to come talk to us, we'll develop an answer, and then recontact those clients later on. But again, we're looking at growth, we're looking at technology allowing us to go outside of our walls. Okay, so this is the last part, which is kind of exciting. These are the must-have apps that I've found, and they're all in here. Okay, so the best Office app that I found is the Office HP, Quick Office HD Pro. It's for the iPad. It operates just like your Microsoft Office. So you've got your Word, you've got your, like I said, I could have done my PowerPoint today here, had I had my adapter. You're able to, on the go, work just like you can in your office, whereas before, it was pretty difficult to do that with the iPad apps that were available. iPad is still not really a substitute for a laptop. Drafting documents, even if you have the keypad, Still slower and subpar to a laptop for sure, but as a supplement, like for me, it's mostly court or vacations, right? Like there's kind of, as attorneys, two types of vacations that we take. One that are working vacations, and ones that, you know, you try not to do anything at all. On working vacations, I take my laptop and my 4 other devices. And on the vacations, you know, the agreement my family and I have come up with is that I'll just have the iPad, and so that I'm limited contact if needed, but I'm still not left without an ability to do things should I need to. Note-taking ones. Evernote is free. This allows you to save notes. It also allows you to save website clippings, files, images, and again, sync across all your devices. It's really good for case preparation, especially if you're preparing for trial. As you find things or think of things and get ideas, you can go check a website, cut and paste it, save it all in one place, and it'll organize it for you quite easily. Note Taker HD, a lot of people prefer handwritten notes still, and once you get used to use your finger, or if there's pens that you can get, find that that's still helpful. Oftentimes, especially interviewing witnesses, typing, you know, can be a little bit awkward whereas if you're talking and taking notes. That's a nice one to have as well. Notability is nice. I don't use it, but I know my criminal attorney friends have. Again, handwritten notes with witnesses have been particularly helpful with them. This one also has a record application. So it'll be recording the interview the same time you're taking notes. And then when you go back to refer to your notes, you just tap on the note that you're looking at, and it'll play just that portion of the conversation back. So you can verify whether, you know, the information was accurate or what was actually being going on and said at that time. Goodreader is a good one for PDFs. Oftentimes, if you don't get a specific app, you can get a PDF, but you can't alter it or edit it and send it back. On Goodreader, you can. I found that it's one of the quickest loading apps for PDFs. Again, you can store it on your iCloud. You can immediately email it to someone, your paralegal or another attorney, whatever you need. Doc Scanner, this is a great one. So, you know, you record, you get a document, you're out somewhere, you're at home, you got something, you can take a picture of it right there, and it'll translate it or convert it into a PDF immediately. You can send it to your iCloud, you can send it to your paralegal, you send it to opposing counsel, and they're immediately getting a PDF that they can use. Again, there's some, you know, security, confidentiality concerns historically with sending documents of this sort, but I think I touched on that before. Okay, litigation. So in California, you can get the California codes. This is one I found tremendously helpful. It's a little bit on the costlier side of $19.99, but you're easily able to access from your iPad all of the California codes and search by subject. It's very user-friendly. The deponent, which is $9.99, is very, it's a good one. So it helps you prepare for all your depositions. I help you organize all your deposition questions. You can do, you know, a search by words, so that if you're going back and trying to find out when you asked a similar question, you can easily access that. Print it, send it, PDF it. Again, it's a really user-friendly, and for $10, if you're holding, you know, one deposition a year, I think you're going to get your costs back on that. Oftentimes for me, I find too, because I am on the go a lot. If I leave my deposition planning at the office with my files, you know, before I was using like the Note iPad app that just came on here, and I was trying to type in a little, and I didn't quite. It just wasn't easily convertible to what I needed. Whereas this, you can jump on, and you're just back right where you started. If a thought comes to you or a question comes to you, it's great. Mobile transcript is a great one. This is free. This one you have to go on through your desktop, or so I guess you can go through your Safari. But you go and to the website, you download this, and it allows you to access all of your transcripts straight from here. You can also highlight them in several different colors. You can search for words. It's a great transcript, so you're reading those on the go, from home, wherever you might be. TrialPad. So this is the most expensive app. I don't have this app, but I do know that, again, more so the civil attorneys, PIs, criminal law attorneys have found this trial pad extremely helpful. And it's a fully functioning trial app. Like you can literally save all of your exhibits, all of your websites, all of your questions, everything you could possibly need in your trial binders. You can have it easily accessible on the app. You plug in the app as long as you bring your adapters to the courtroom, and you're able to present your case at trial all from your iPad. Family law, if there's anyone who does family law besides you two. The DissoMaster app is kind of expensive. It's $50, but it's well worth it. I used it all morning. Once you come up, you can do your DissoMaster right here. Once you come up with the DissoMaster, you can email it right to the court while you're in court. So oftentimes, you'll be fighting over DissoMasters. You'll say, I need a change. Judge, I want this change. Whereas I can say, hey, I'm emailing it to the clerk right now, so you have mine. And it's been very elusive by bit. And then this one is the sign and send, which I'll end with. I used it on my way in today to the building. So this is an app that allows you to, so you pull up your email. Your email has an attachment. Your paralegal sent you a form. In my case, was sending me a form of just a continuance for a hearing on Friday. And said, I know you're walking in to teach this class tonight, but if you don't sign the form, you go into court on Friday. And I was able to you literally just push it from my phone. You push the email attachment, you hold on to the attachment, and it'll pop up and it'll say open in, and it'll say send and sign. You open it up, you sign it with your finger. It says facsimile signature the same as original. I emailed it right back to him. I'm done. Otherwise, we would have been going to court. Each of our clients probably would have been spending 3 hours of billable time because it was in Stockton, and that was all avoidable just like that. Oftentimes, too, people are running, if you're working at home or you're out, it's, okay, I'll be back to the office by 4 just to sign these 4 documents or whatever it is. So it's a tremendously helpful. They have a free version, but if you do that, every time you send something, it comes with an ad, so it's worth $5. Then this, I'll leave you to yourself. I don't do a lot of travel in my business, but I know there's plenty of attorneys that do. And if you do, these are excellent apps which help you track all of your itineraries, organize those, submit your receipts for reimbursement, or to your bookkeeper immediately, track your taxi, your car service, know exactly where it is when you land on the ground, all of that, and those are all free. So with that, that's what I had to share about a modern law practice. We have about 5 minutes if anyone has any questions.
I'm just curious as to why you don't use Abacus for your billing. I thought that was one of the great features, is that it really did everything in one.
It can. I think for us, we've had Interbill for a long time. And I would say our paralegals and kind of the guys in our office who do the IT work have fully implemented or are familiar with Abacus and using all of the great other resources Abacus has. Our bookkeeper, who's been with us for a long time, is very familiar with Interbill. So again, because the financial commitment wasn't huge for the two, and just the people we have working for us, the comfortability, we've maintained a few different programs. But you certainly can. I think it's just getting used to it. Yes?
Keeping along that same theme and using Abacus, does it replace also like your Microsoft Outlook for email? You use it for emails and stuff too, or?
No, I don't think so. As I understand it, what you can do is it's linked to your Outlook. For us, it's linked to our Outlook.
I see.
And so you can click on a name, and they'll come up, and it'll say, you want to email Alice, and you push email, and it'll go pop up an email right there. It also links it to their account, so you can follow exactly what's happening. This document came in, Catherine sent an email this day, the paralegal followed up on this day. So you have a complete chronology, which is just linking all of the time. And when a client calls you and you pick up the phone, it's not, well, hey, when did you send that? It's, and then I go, oh, well, let me call you back, I just go, okay, one moment, and I'm able to pull up a complete list instantly of what's been going on in the case all over the office and tell them exactly what's happening. And that, again, has been really beneficial to the clients, and it speaks a lot towards, what we're doing for them.
I see, thank you.
Yes?
I do, among my areas of practice, I do trust litigation, but I know other attorneys who practice that area, and their websites will add cases that they handle. And I assume they probably have to give the client's consent, but they'll give the name and.
Yes.
And do you find that that's family law is a little bit different. I'm not sure if you do that, but do you put that on a website, and do you put that on a blog where you talk about the cases that you were handling and successful at?
We don't. We are very careful about that. The only thing that I would say that we have come even close to doing is the testimonials, and those clients have given us express permission to use their name. We just use their first name and last initial. But we have a Facebook page. We don't talk about our client. I know there's some attorneys that do, and it makes both of us particularly nervous. I think there's major confidentiality issues there, so we don't do it. We talk about generalities, blogs. We talk about issues. If you looked at issue up in Rudder Guide, we're going to explain it to a layman person, but we're not going to talk about specifics.
Earlier, you talked about having your clients having a website is not good for access from a mobile device, and you need something scalable.
Yeah, scalable.
So if a person, I have a website, and if a person wants to look me up on his mobile phone, what do I need?
So you're going to go to ideally whoever created your website or helps manage it, and you have somebody that you use if you have a website. If you don't, you can get somebody, and I can give you good people. But if you go to your website, it's going to be very small. So in order for, and it's the same again for ours right now, we're in the process of doing it. So they're going to have to go like this, they're going to have to move it around, they're going to have to find out how to contact you over in this corner, and it's going to be a little bit of work. Again, I'm not speaking to the moral decay of society. This is too much work to go like this now. But you can lose them. Whereas the mobile site's literally going to come up, and it's going to have, contact us here, attorney bio. Here's what we do, a little blurb up here. That's what I mean by mobile site completely, and it's super easy.
So that's something that's attached to your website?
It's a different URL, but it's directed towards your website. Yeah, so when they Google search you, you can go to, it'll say the mobile site underneath your site.
Oh.
Right, and they'll click on that.
So if my website is advertised in, the Yellow Pages or something, I could have a mobile site URL as well?
Exactly. And usually what they're going to do is they're going to search you on here, your name's going to pop up, and it's going to say contact us, mobile site, something like that. There's a few different ways that you can do it. And again, scalable is different than just a purely mobile site too. It just means what they're viewing is going to be just the information they need.
So it's like a website for mobile phone.
That's right.
Because Vinny says that you will recognize that you're checking from a
Correct.
smartphone.
Correct.
Automatically.
Yeah,
Those who've been doing it, it's automatically, it's a mobile friendly website that just automatically pops up if you Google them or.
That's right, and that's what we're getting for that purpose. We just want them to be able to click on us, and it'll recognize the device. But I think there are a few different ways that you'll see it. Done. So, yeah, we're just in the process of that. Okay.
Well, thank you very
My
much,
pleasure.
Katharine.